back, Giants fans, to another edition of the Chuck Knoxx Show. Fresh off the heels of a ass-whipping last night in New England. A 33-15 game that was not even as close as the scoreboard appears. The Giants dropped 7 straight and fall to 2-11, and did it in spectacular fashion last night on Monday Night Football. And we're going to get into all of it. There's a lot to cover. Where do you begin? Because last night, the Giants had been in a lot of these games. And they've been, blowing fourth quarter leads against a lot of playoff caliber teams. Most of these teams are going to make the playoffs. And last night was another chance. You have a team that's won 9 straight, fighting for the first seed in the AFC on the road, going to New England. And what happens? You get a Giants team that finally imploded completely. It's been building up. The sparks have been there. But it blew up last night. And in a game that we've seen worse, but last night was a lifeless performance. The Giants got their ass whipped physically, mentally, on the scoreboard, and did nothing about it. This game was over in the first 5 minutes. 17-0. Giants had a chance, when it was 17-7. They get the play down there that Theo Johnson drops. Who knows what happens at that point? If it's 17-14 in the second quarter, but what happens? The Giant thing happens, right? You're down 17-7. You might be able to mount a comeback. Theo Johnson drops what should have been a touchdown pass. You send out Koo. And what happens next is, it can only happen to the Giants this season. It is the play that is the picture-perfect cherry on top exclamation point of this season. Koo comes out and whiffs the ball. He kicks the turf. He kicks the grass. So out the window goes the 3 points, the 7 points, and the Giants never recovered. They never recovered anyway. From the opening drive, they never recovered. Jackson Dart took 2 huge hits in the first quarter. Both were legal hits. Not saying that they were dirty hits. They bordered on dirty hits. But by definition, they were clean. And he got rocked, especially the one on the sidelines. Knocked on his ass. A brawl ensues after that. Giants pushing the Patriots back. You got to protect your quarterback. And I don't think Jackson Dart nor the Giants recovered from that very first quarter. That was it. Dart was under fire in the post-game press conference from the news media. All the questions were, about your playing style. Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And it's a catch-22 with Jackson Dart. I get what the reporters and the people and the fans are saying, the criticism of his play. But at the same time, I totally understand what Jackson Dart is saying. And you can hear the frustration in his voice.
Point around you now.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to be that way about a lot of other quarterbacks. Is this just a growing phase that you have to get through, or is it something different?
Look, I'm going to keep playing aggressive. Hopefully everybody can take a second to watch my tape going back to high school and realize that this is not a shock. I play the game aggressively. I took one hit that people are talking about. I slid, got out of the way of a lot of hits. So I appreciate people, wanting to, me to be healthy and all that stuff. And I want to be healthy too. But I play this game aggressive. So I'm not going to just change how I play the game.
So, there he's telling you basically, look, you guys have seen me play since high school. You got tape on me from high school, college. This is the way I play. These are part of the reasons why you traded in the first round to get me. Now, the guy that fought for it is unemployed right now. But as an organization, this is what you guys paid for. So it's hard to say, hey, change the style of play that you've built your entire career around. Because it is a mindset, and I get it, man. Like, the guys that are saying that probably never played football. But when you've done that now since you were a kid, and you've done it at 3 levels now, and you just say, hey, turn a switch on and change the entire way you play football, easier said than done. So I hope that Jackson Dart learns the fine line between, fire, competitive play, because the cliche is true. Your best asset that you can bring is your availability. And if you play quarters like that first quarter, you're not going to be available much, right? But you don't want to handcuff the guy, and you don't want to tame him. So you got to surround him with the right guys that are going to be able to walk that fine line, teach him to walk both. And there are guys out there who will specialize in it. But Jackson Dart under fire last night after taking 2 big hits. And, these other games, sometimes it was enough just to have Jackson Dart on the field. Last night, in my opinion, I think after that second shot especially, there was a little bit of that hit that took him out of his game plan. And this is the NFL. Guys, now that's what they're doing. The Patriots came out last night and they wore, I called it headhunting on Twitter, but they were hunting last night. The hits to Dart, Olszewski got, knocked into another planet with a concussion, had the fucking logo knocked out of his helmet. From a helmet to helmet. So don't tell me that the Patriots were not coming out last night trying to impose their will, physicality, right from the jump. And I am saying this. It's legal, but the response from the Giants, when you're seeing your guys get destroyed like that, there's something in you as a defensive player that should say, you know what? This is not going to go unchecked. There's going to be some kind of response here, even if I have to take a flag. You're 2-10 team at that point. You have nothing to play for but pride. So the pride thing to do is say, look, I know what the scoreboard says. I know what the standings say. I know I'm going to get flagged. I may even take a fine, but you know what? I'm going to lay somebody out. That's the mindset of a defensive team that plays with fire and plays with passion. And I'm sorry, but the Giants have a couple of good guys on defense. Brian Burns, All-Pro. Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau. We'll get to Abdul Carter. But just because these guys have, All-Pro talent, that doesn't translate to being a leader. And they don't have a leader. Brian Burns, and I'm not knocking him. I'm just pointing this out. I put out the video. The Giants are headed into halftime. Right? They're getting the shit kicked out of them. The game's already over with. And the entire team heads to the locker room. And there's Brian Burns still sitting on the bench, taking it all in. Now, he's taking it in. He's just disgusted. He can't even believe that he's having this all-pro season in the midst of a bunch of garbage. Right? And he's sitting there, and he's not even in the locker room. Now, to me, if you're a leader on that defense, you're the first one to get in that locker room. And when the door's shut, you are ripping everyone's ass apart. Not to mention, I mean, look, we can build a checklist of why there's no leadership on the Giants. But look at that. Case in point right there. No response to the Jackson Dart hits. And then the defense, goes into the half. Nothing, let's be real. The Patriots took their foot off the gas. The only reason the game got remotely as close as it did, the Patriots took their foot off the gas. And that is, accountability. I said this before, heading into firing Shane Bowen. The good thing that's going to come out of firing Shane Bowen is now the accountability shifts to the field. You fired Dable. You fired Shane Bowen. You're going to clean house. But now what? Now you have to look at the players on the field. The players on the field have to look in the mirror. And right now, they don't like what they see. Because it's on them. There is no more boogeyman. There is no more person at the top to blame. Say Charlie Boland's fault as a first-time DC last night. Obviously got exposed that he's in way over his head. But he's also a guy, looked every bit of the part of a first-time DC, coaching a bunch of guys that have already gone in full Cancun mode. And let's talk about it. Abdul Carter. I hyped up this guy along with many others. Wanted to believe, and I still do believe, that he's got all the talent in the world. Make no mistake about it. But we got a problem. We got a problem with 51 because right now, what has happened in the last 3 weeks, you have your super talented first-round pick, third pick in the draft, has now been benched twice to start the game in 2 out of the last 3 games. And so a couple things that stand out to me about that. Number one, the benching didn't start until Brian Dable was gone. So if you think that this was just going on after Brian Dable was, that he just started missing team meetings or became a problem after Brian Dable, I mean, come on, wake the fuck up. This was an issue that Brian Dable did not address. Because a rookie coming in with that kind of entitlement doesn't just manifest in 3 weeks after the prior coach, after daddy, has left the house. And this all of a sudden doesn't want to listen to stepdad. That's not what happened. This has been a problem, obviously, behind the scenes. And Mike Kafka, who is, trying to coach for a job, not just with the Giants, but around the league, has tried to do something about it. But tried to keep it in-house. But it's manifested and it's spilled out now onto the field. And now, for the second time, he's benched for almost all of the first quarter, if not the entire first quarter. I don't even remember. But either way, by the time he comes on the field, the Giants are already down 3 scores. So he's hurt the team with his self-imposed bullshit. Where's the leadership? Where's a guy like Strahan that's going to pull the young buck aside and say, look, dude, you're a fucking rookie. You haven't earned the right to even remotely fuck up this bad. You haven't even remotely stepped on this field long enough to throw any weight around. Remember the clip this summer when Abdul Carter goes to the podium after practice and Brian Burns pushes him aside, says, no, get the hell out of here, rookie? Right? That's the mentality that you need. Obviously, Burns is the only leader that we have. Dexter Lawrence is a hell of a player, but the guy's not the vocal leader that's going to throw his weight around in the locker room. So this situation with Abdul Carter is partly on the coaching and also the locker room, but 100% on Abdul Carter. Whatever's going on, whether he's, missing meetings, sleeping, who knows what the fuck's happened. But whatever's happening has hurt the team. We know that much now. Abdul Carter comes in last night, has an impact. Got his first sack. Had some big plays. And then you get to post-game. You knew it was going to happen. The reporters swarmed his locker room, want to know what the hell's happened. And I thought his initial response after getting asked the question 3 times was embarrassing.
The second time in 3 weeks, you didn't start. What happened?
It happens.
What happened?
I ain't gonna get into detail. Like I said, shit happens.
Why? Why, Abdul?
Ask me the same question. I just answered.
So Abdul's response is basically, shit happens. Yeah, shit happens. I'm a rookie. I'm entitled. Whatever happened is between me and the team, and shit happens. Can you imagine that kind of response if you had the leadership in that defense, in that locker room, like we've had in the past? If you had a head coach, a no-nonsense, imagine Tom Coughlin dealing with this guy. Carter wouldn't have seen the game, let alone coming in the second quarter. And Mike Kafka, there were, Mike Kafka's chances of getting this job were slim to none to begin with. I'm just being honest. I mean, I think that it was a long shot. But last night, any notion that Kafka was going to get this head coaching job went out the window. For 2 major reasons. Number one, the Giants came to New England totally unprepared. There were 2 teams on that field last night. One of them was well coached, prepared, looked like they wanted every bit of this game. They were hitting, they were executing, they had fire, they had passion. The other was the Giants. And Mike Kafka, good guy, young guy, probably has a long future in the league. But it's a combination of he didn't do a good enough job and the players just didn't show up for him. There were multiple times last night, that Mike Kafka, the play calling was, blah at best. You're down a mile, a 4th down, you're still kicking punts. Like, come on. Like, show something. Give your team something. So game-wise, he already showed last night he's not the guy. And then in the post-game, and I admire what he's trying to do here. I admire the fact that he's trying to protect his players. But my God, man, you're in the New York market. These reporters in the media are vicious. And they ate your ass up last night because you weren't ready for the situation, brother. Mike is asked, obviously right away, what the hell's going on with Abdul Carter?
Why was Abdul not out there the first couple of series?
That was a coach's decision, my decision.
Why
Just based on how we went during the week, just that was the decision I wanted to make.
not a disciplinary reason?
No, it was just my decision to not play him.
There was a report that he was missed part of or all of a team event. Is that true?
No, it was just strictly my decision.
How concerning is it now that it's the second time in 3 weeks he's had to be benched in this way?
Yeah, no, it's unfortunate, but that's the way we kind of work with it this week.
I mean, Mike, I imagine that when you benched him the first time, you hope that the message would get through to the fact that this now.
And you see Mike's response is, that was my decision. That was a coaching decision. So he's not alluding to what happened, not going to give you the meat and the potatoes of why he had to do what he had to do, but keeps telling you it was my decision. Thought that was the best decision for the team. And then goes on to say look, when Abdul Carter came to the game, look at the impact he had. Are you fucking kidding me? You're telling people, yeah, Abdul Carter, I benched the guy because it was my decision. I'll take the heat for it. But hey, when he got in the game, he really had an impact. So what I'm telling you is, I thought it was a great idea to wait till we were down 3 fucking scores to insert the guy that's going to have an impact in the game. By the way, do you want to hire me? I mean, come on. Fucking laughable. But that's where you are when you have a rookie that is causing issues in the locker room, obviously. You got a guy who's never been a head coach, a defensive coordinator, never been a defensive coordinator. I mean, what are we doing here? And the bottom line, what this all boils down to, is the overwhelming theme, the elephant in the room, is Joe Schoen. This team was built by Joe Schoen. This situation is brought to you by Joe Schoen. And I said this last night. When you look at how bad the defense has finally been exposed, not just a Shane Bowen problem. There's no heart. There's not a lot of effort. It's a major problem. But again, who's the architect? You can point to a couple guys. Your Jackson Dart, layup. Abdul Carter, layup. Cam Scadaboo. A lot of teams wanted Cam Scadaboo. Layup. Malik Neighbors, layup. His offseason moves, though, atrocious. Let's be real. Adebo, Holland, bad signings. The situation, the Giants right now on special teams, they have not one impact player. They don't have a kicker. They don't have a punter. They don't have a fucking punt returner. They have nothing on special teams. You chose to go get a quarterback in the first round and give him no help. There was a risk that if Malik Neighbors went down, that you were going to have to rely on Darius Slayton or Wan'Dale Robinson to carry you if that was the case. Look what happened. The worst case scenario happened. You can go down the list from the draft to the offseason, especially the offseason moves. Joe Schoen is the architect that built the situation that we're in. Joe Schoen hired Brian Dable. A guy, by the way, who was one of his best friends in Buffalo. Nobody knew Brian Dable more than his best friend, his buddy. And so you're going to tell me that you're going to keep handing the keys to the guy that has built this disaster? Every season, the team and the franchise have gotten worse. We're not better than we are 4 years ago in any area. The only area you could possibly say is Jackson Dart, and from the only things that we know, it's because Brian Dable fought for him, not Joe Schoen. And yet we're sitting here right now this morning as I'm recording this. Joe Schoen, as the bye week starts, will address the media at 1:45 p.m. He's still employed. He's going to say all the right things he needs to say. But at the end of the day, the thing that has to be done, other than Carmine, the offensive line coach has done an outstanding job. There is no remnant from this regime that has to be on that sidelines or in the front office come 26. Not one. I know Mara and the Tisch family did not want to have to blow it up. Who the fuck did? Who wanted to do this 4 years ago? When Dable had a playoff appearance and coach of the year, who thought and who wanted to be here 4 years later? Nobody. But we are. We're going to be on Hard Knocks tonight. Cameras in the building to watch the most dysfunctional franchise in the National Football League. And who's the architect? The same guy 2 years ago on Hard Knocks. Who was everybody bitching about, making fun of, talking about? Who was the star of that? Joe Schoen. Back to square one. It is, look, and again, I said this last night, I've been a fan since the 80s. I can't tell you, I've seen everything. This is the worst season in my fandom that I've ever seen in my life. I'm not saying that as a prisoner of the moment. I'm not saying that just for, being emotional right now. I'm saying you going into this season, you have a lot of hype. You have a Giants team that had a lot of star power, potentially. You got Malik Neighbors. You were waiting for Jackson Dart. You got Abdul Carter. On paper, you got a really good defense, a good pass rush at least. You got Cam Scadaboo. And one by one, the day that Jackson Dart gets in, the day that he starts as quarterback of this franchise, you lose your number one generational receiver on a non-contact play. So you pick up the pieces. You get the ball rolling. Start getting enthusiasm. Your two rookies on offense, Cam and Jax, carrying the franchise. Everybody's excited. Everybody's back all in. What happens? One of the worst fucking injuries the team has ever seen. You lose Cam. You try to hang on. You're hanging into these games. You're losing them. You're in all these games. You're blowing epic leads. Historically, Denver. All these teams that are in the playoffs, the Lions. You got them on the ropes, the Bears. And you keep blowing leads, but you're still led by your rookie quarterback. And oh, by the way, we're going to take him out for 2 weeks, 2 games, with a fucking concussion. And then the cherry on top, that pass rush that you guys all were waiting for, where the fuck was that? One guy. One guy gets on the stat sheet. I know the other things don't show up, and they're all doing this, and they're all doing that, but come on. We all came into the season. We all were sitting there expecting some big-time numbers. Kayvon Thibodeau put up monster numbers in his rookie year compared to Abdul Carter. Yeah, the guy gets off the line. Yeah, he's got a good burst. He doesn't finish. I'm telling you. And then you got, in between this season, you got the firings, right? You got Dable gets fired. So the drama about it. Shane Bowen. This is the worst season I can ever remember. Last year was awful. How do you go back from that? How do you go backwards? Oh, this is how you go backwards. So in my opinion, everybody's hot right now. Everybody's emotional. But you got to blow it all up. You just have to. Didn't want to have to do it. I understand that, especially with what Mara's going through. But you got to do it. And so we'll see what happens later on today as Joe Schoen addresses the media. I'm going to cover it. But right now, I mean, we're a 2-11 team. We're heading into the bye week. Finally, mercifully, we get the last bye. And right now, I just feel like, obviously I'm going to be around for these last 4 games. Giants could probably win 3 of them, but who cares, right? But after a performance last night, nobody wants to see this team. You don't even want to see it. You got 4 more games to go. Games against the Redskins, the Raiders, the Vikings, the Cowboys. So who knows? The Giants could embarrass themselves and lose all of them. You're going to have a good draft pick. Even if you try to win these games, you'll still probably lose them. So you're going to secure, a top 5 pick. And the most important thing is who's going to be there to oversee that pick. How can you look at what's happened in the last 4 years with the roster that's been assembled, with the results on the field, and on the coaching staff, and continue to give the guy who built the blueprint for it the keys to the kingdom. I don't get it. I just don't get it. We'll see what happens. We will see what happens. I will address everything after the Joe Schoen press conference. You'll probably hear from me again. We've got an off week. Everybody's checked out. I'll find something to do. I'll find something for the Giants fans that are still checked in. You guys know where to find me. Mr. Chuck Knoxx on Facebook and YouTube. And Chuck Knoxx on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Spotify for the music that is featured on the channels. It's just a shitty time, folks. We're heading into holidays. The Giants have just given us nothing to root for, nothing to cheer for, and we're just waiting for the season to be over. And we got a bye week so we can enjoy other teams this week. And then after that, we have to sit through the last 4 games of the season. So hang in there, Giants fans. It's almost over. Until then, I'll talk to you guys real soon.